Hey there, and welcome to Blood Sugar Blueprint, the place where we break down the science of blood sugar into something simple, relatable, and actually useful in your daily life. If you care about your health, want to avoid the confusion of diet trends, or you're just curious about how food affects your body, you're in the right place. Before we dive in, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss a video that could literally change how you feel every single day. So, let's talk diets. You've probably heard all the buzz about the low glycemic diet, and maybe you've seen people raving about the carnivore diet too. Meat-only meals, dramatic transformations, the works. But when it comes to managing your blood sugar, which one actually works better? That's the big question. Is one really more effective than the other, or are they just different paths to the same goal? And today we're putting them head to head, the low glycemic diet versus the carnivore diet. And we're not just talking theory, we're digging into the science, cutting through the noise, and showing you real insights that can help you make an informed decision about your health. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is the low glycemic diet? At its core, the low glycemic diet is all about how fast the carbohydrates you eat turn into sugar in your bloodstream. Foods are ranked on something called the glycemic index, or GI. The lower the number, the slower the sugar hits your system. And that's a good thing for blood sugar stability. Think of it like a gentle hill rather than a roller coaster. You eat something, your blood sugar rises slowly, your insulin handles it without going into panic mode, and you feel energized and focused instead of jittery or sleepy. On the other hand, we've got the carnivore diet, and it's as intense as it sounds. No carbs, no plants, just animal products. That means meat, eggs, maybe some cheese, depending on how strict you go, and that's pretty much it. The idea here is to eliminate every possible source of blood sugar fluctuation by cutting out all carbs entirely. You remove the variables, and in theory, your blood sugar stays stable because there's nothing left to spike it. Sounds extreme, right? But there are people who swear by it, not just for weight loss, but for mental clarity, inflammation, even autoimmune symptoms. So now that we've laid out the basics, let's get into the heart of the debate. Is your current diet actually helping or harming your blood sugar? You might think you're eating healthy, but if your meals are full of high glycemic carbs, even the so-called good ones, your blood sugar could be spiking and crashing all day. That roller coaster leads to cravings, fatigue, mood swings, and long-term complications like insulin resistance. Meanwhile, the carnivore diet might sound like a blood sugar dream. No carbs, no spikes, no crashes. But it comes with its own set of risks and questions. What about fiber? What about micronutrients found in plants? And can your body really thrive long-term without any carbohydrates? In this video, we'll look at 3 major misconceptions that people have about both diets, and then we'll put them to the test in a simple, short-term experiment to see what actually happens to your blood sugar when you switch between the two. First misconception: people assume all carbs are bad. It's easy to think that because carbs raise blood sugar, they should be avoided, but that's not the full picture. Carbohydrates are not your enemy, especially not the ones that digest slowly. In fact, low glycemic carbs like lentils, sweet potatoes, and steel-cut oats can actually stabilize your blood sugar. Why? Because they release glucose gradually and keep you fuller for longer. So cutting all carbs might be overkill, and it might make you miss out on key nutrients your body needs. Second misconception: that the carnivore diet will guarantee stable blood sugar. Now yes, removing carbs will prevent sugar spikes, but it doesn't automatically mean your metabolism is functioning better. Some people experience low energy, hormonal changes, or even higher fasting glucose after a few weeks on the carnivore diet. Why? Because the body is complex. It might begin generating its own glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis, especially if you're under stress or not eating enough fat. And that brings us to the third misconception, that one diet is perfect for everyone. The truth is, everyone's metabolism is different. Your genetics, your stress levels, your sleep, even your microbiome, all of it affects how you respond to different foods. So just because someone on YouTube lost 30 pounds eating only steak doesn't mean your body will respond the same way. Alright, so let's test this out. Imagine this. For one day, we take 2 people with similar body types and similar health profiles. One eats a balanced low glycemic meal plan. The other eats strictly carnivore. We track their blood sugar with a continuous glucose monitor and compare the results. What do you think we'll find? Here's a spoiler. It's not as simple as one diet being good and the other being bad. What matters is how your body responds, and that's what we're going to explore next. So we've got our two test subjects, one following a low glycemic plan, the other fully carnivore for the day, and they're both strapped with a continuous glucose monitor. No guesswork, no estimates, just pure data on how their bodies handle what they eat in real time. Let's start with the low glycemic eater. Breakfast, steel-cut oats topped with chia seeds, a handful of blueberries, and a spoonful of almond butter. Sounds pretty harmless, right? The glucose monitor shows a gentle rise. Nothing dramatic. Their blood sugar peaks at a moderate level and then slowly returns to baseline over the next couple of hours. Stable, controlled, no crash. Lunch is a quinoa salad with grilled chicken, avocado, spinach, and olive oil. Again, we see a similar trend, a mild increase in blood sugar, but nothing erratic. They stay within the optimal range, and the slight carb content is balanced out by fiber, fat, and protein. Now compare that with the carnivore dieter. Breakfast is 6 eggs and a ribeye steak, 0 carbs. As expected, their blood sugar doesn't really move. It stays flat, maybe with a tiny dip. They report feeling full and energized, but by mid-morning, there's a slight dip in mental focus. That could be a result of low glucose availability to the brain, especially if their body hasn't fully adapted to burning fat for energy. Lunchtime, another meat-heavy meal. Ground beef with liver and bone marrow. No carbs again, no sugar spike, and no crash. On paper, that sounds great, but here's where things get interesting. The low glycemic eater reports consistent energy and mental clarity, no hunger between meals. Meanwhile, the carnivore eater starts to feel a little sluggish by late afternoon. They're still not hungry, but there's a sense of mental fog. That's common early on in a low carb or 0 carb diet, especially before the body becomes fully fat adapted. By dinner, both eaters finish strong. The low glycemic dieter has grilled salmon with lentils and roasted Brussels sprouts. Again, steady blood sugar curve, no drama. The carnivore ends with lamb chops and eggs. Still flat blood sugar, but the missing piece here is metabolic flexibility, the ability to switch between burning carbs and fat. When you eat only one fuel source, your body may lose some of that adaptability over time. So what does this tell us? It's not just about numbers on a graph, it's also about how you feel throughout the day. Energy, focus, cravings, mood, all of these are part of the blood sugar story too. Now let's talk about the obstacles people face when trying to decide between these two diets. The number one issue? Confusion. You've got experts on both sides making strong claims. Some say carbs are the enemy, and others argue we need plant-based fiber and phytonutrients for long-term health. Then you've got influencers showing off their dramatic weight loss transformations, and suddenly everyone's either eating nothing but meat or cutting out entire food groups overnight. It's overwhelming, especially if you're someone just trying to stabilize your energy, lose a little weight, or manage prediabetes. The pressure to pick a side in this diet war can actually make things harder. And that's the opposite of what nutrition should be. It should simplify your life, not complicate it. The truth is, most people aren't eating low glycemic or carnivore. They're eating something in between, often loaded with processed carbs, hidden sugars, and foods that spike blood sugar without offering real nutrients. That's the real issue, so let's zoom out for a second. Whether you're curious about going fully carnivore or just want to lean into a lower glycemic style of eating, the goal isn't to find the perfect diet. The goal is to find what works best for you, for your body, your goals, your metabolism. And the only way to do that is through awareness, through understanding how different foods affect your energy, your focus, your cravings, and yes, your blood sugar. Coming up, we're going to take a look at some dramatic visuals, real-time blood sugar graphs. You'll see the peaks, the dips, and the flat lines. And more importantly, we'll break down what they actually mean for your day-to-day life. Because this isn't about numbers on a chart, it's about how you feel and what you can do starting today to take back control. So let's bring this all to life. Picture the screen showing 2-line graphs side by side, one for our low glycemic eater and one for the carnivore. Both are tracking blood sugar in real time, hour by hour, meal by meal. On the left, the low glycemic graph looks like gentle waves. Each meal causes a slow, gradual rise in blood sugar, peaking softly, and then drifting back down in a calm, controlled curve. There's no dramatic spike, no sudden crash, just smooth transitions throughout the day. On the right, the carnivore graph is almost a flat line. No rise, no fall. Just consistent, stable blood sugar from morning to night. At first glance, that might seem like the winner. Flat line equals stable. right? Well, yes and no. See, while the carnivore graph looks ideal on paper, what we can't see in that line is the body's internal response, the hormones adjusting, the liver working overtime to make glucose from protein, the early signs of fatigue, or the slight brain fog some people feel as they adapt. Meanwhile, on the low glycemic side, the mild rises in blood sugar actually match the body's natural rhythm. Food goes in, insulin rises slightly, and the body handles it smoothly. There's energy for your brain, fuel for your muscles, and no crash afterward. It's not about preventing any rise in blood sugar. It's about avoiding the wrong kind of rise, the ones that spike high and drop fast, leaving you tired and irritable. Now here's where it gets real. Let's say both of these people go out for a snack. The low glycemic eater grabs a banana. The carnivore grabs a handful of beef jerky. Two very different choices. The banana causes a slight uptick in blood sugar, predictable, moderate, and back to normal within an hour. The jerky, no change at all. But here's the catch. What if the carnivore eater is under stress? Had a bad night's sleep? That's when things can get tricky. Stress hormones like cortisol can raise blood sugar even without food. So in some cases, people on extremely low-carb diets might wake up with higher fasting glucose than expected. Not because of food, but because their body is working harder behind the scenes to make the glucose it still needs. This is why context matters. Blood sugar isn't just about what you eat, it's about how your body responds. And that depends on more than just diet. Sleep, exercise, stress, hydration, even your gut health, they all play a role. So now let's step back and ask the bigger question. Which diet actually supports better long-term blood sugar stability? The answer might surprise you. For some people, the carnivore diet does wonders. It eliminates all processed carbs, cuts out inflammatory foods, and keeps blood sugar rock steady, but it can also feel restrictive, socially awkward, nutritionally limited if not carefully managed. The low glycemic diet, on the other hand, offers flexibility. You can enjoy a variety of foods, get plenty of fiber, and still avoid those nasty sugar spikes. But it takes effort. You have to learn which carbs are low glycemic, plan your meals, and stay consistent. Neither one is perfect, but both have value. And that's the real takeaway here. This isn't a battle between right and wrong. It's about finding the diet that fits your life, your goals, and your biology. It's about understanding how food makes you feel, not just for one day, but every day. In a moment, we'll break things down even further and walk you through the key components of both diets side by side. You'll see exactly how they compare when it comes to blood sugar impact, nutritional benefits, and overall sustainability. And by the end of this video, you'll have a clear blueprint, a way to take what you've learned and actually apply it in your own kitchen. Let's get practical. If you're sitting there wondering how to actually apply this to your own meals, here's where things get interesting. We're gonna lay out the key components of both the low glycemic and carnivore diets in a way that's clear, simple, and easy to compare. Let's start with the low glycemic diet. This approach is all about choosing foods that digest slowly and release glucose gradually into the bloodstream. You're aiming for stable energy, fewer crashes, and better insulin control. The core of the low glycemic plate includes whole, unprocessed carbohydrates like lentils, beans, steel-cut oats, sweet potatoes, quinoa, and plenty of non-starchy vegetables. You'll also find lean proteins like chicken, turkey, eggs, and tofu, plus healthy fats from sources like avocados, olive oil, nuts, and seeds. It's not about cutting out carbs. It's about being selective with your carbs. You're choosing quality over quantity. Now compare that to the carnivore diet. This one's simple on the surface. Just animal-based foods. Beef, lamb, pork, chicken, organ meats, fish, eggs, and sometimes full-fat dairy if tolerated. No carbs, no fiber, no plant-based anything. It's an elimination diet at its core. You're stripping everything away except meat, and in doing so, you're also removing nearly every potential food trigger, allergen, and blood sugar disruptor. The benefit? It's straightforward, no counting, no planning, and blood sugar typically stays flat throughout the day. But the challenge? You've got to be mindful of your nutrients. Things like vitamin C, magnesium, and potassium aren't as abundant in a meat-only diet, so some people supplement or rotate in organ meats to fill those gaps. So now you've seen both sides. But what happens if you're somewhere in the middle? That's where most people land, but in a gray zone between extremes. Maybe you lean low glycemic but enjoy occasional fruit. Maybe you try a week of carnivore to reset cravings, then slowly reintroduce carbs. This hybrid approach is actually more common than you think. Some call it ketovore. Others just call it eating with awareness. The point is, there's room to experiment. And that brings us back to you. If you've struggled with energy crashes after meals, or you find yourself constantly hungry an hour after eating, your blood sugar may be fluctuating more than you realize. You don't need a continuous glucose monitor to notice the signs. Sluggishness, mood swings, sugar cravings, and brain fog, those are your body's signals that something's off. The good news? Small changes can make a big impact. Swapping out white rice for lentils, choosing sweet potatoes over bread, adding more protein and healthy fats to your meals, or even testing out a few carnivore-style days to see how your body responds. And here's something you don't hear often. You're allowed to experiment. You don't have to commit to one label forever. This isn't a religion, it's your health. If a diet feels restrictive, exhausting, or unsustainable, it's okay to pivot. In fact, it's smart. So what can you take away from all this? Number 1, your blood sugar is worth paying attention to. Even if you're not diabetic, stable blood sugar means better energy, better focus, fewer cravings, and a reduced risk of chronic disease down the road. Number 2, both the low glycemic and carnivore diets have their pros and cons. One isn't inherently better than the other. They're tools. And like any tool, they work best when used the right way. And number 3, you don't have to figure it all out overnight. Start small, make one better choice today, see how you feel, then repeat. Because the path to better health isn't found in extremes, it's built with consistency. Coming up next, we'll wrap things up with a few final thoughts and a call to action that could shift the way you eat for good. So what's the final verdict? Low glycemic or carnivore? The truth is, neither one is the best for everyone, but each offers something valuable depending on where you are in your health journey. If you're someone who feels tired after meals, gets hangry by mid-afternoon, or constantly craves sugar, starting with a low glycemic approach might be your best move. It's flexible, sustainable, and supports stable blood sugar without cutting out entire food groups. You'll still enjoy variety, and you'll train your body to handle carbs more efficiently. But if you're dealing with chronic inflammation, autoimmune issues, or you've hit a wall with other diets, a short-term carnivore reset might help. Stripping your diet down to the basics can give your system a break, eliminate common triggers, and help you reconnect with what true satiety feels like. Just make sure to monitor how you feel, stay hydrated, and don't be afraid to reintroduce food slowly. And that's the beauty of this entire conversation. It's not about strict rules, it's about building a blueprint that works for you. Start by noticing how different meals make you feel. Do you crash afterward? Do you feel full for hours? How's your mood? Your focus? That's the real feedback loop you want to tune into. Because blood sugar isn't just a number, it's how you experience your day. It's whether you feel like yourself or you're constantly dragging. It's whether your body is working with you or against you. At Blood Sugar Blueprint, we're here to help you understand that feedback and translate it into smart, simple choices. Whether you lean carnivore, go low glycemic, or land somewhere in between, what matters most is how you feel and how consistent you can be. So if you found this helpful, give this video a like and hit subscribe for more practical, science-backed insights into your blood sugar and your health. We're just getting started. And remember, you don't need the perfect diet, you just need one that works for you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.